So a lot of people have asked me the question, what is the best time to trade futures? And it's a very good question to ask. And in this video, I'm actually going to be sharing what I consider to be the top 3 times to trade futures. Now, the reason why I just don't have one time slot to say like, hey, 9:30 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is the best time to trade is because it might not be the most practical and convenient time for you to trade given your responsibilities with your job or your life in general. So I'm going to be sharing the top 3 times I believe are ideal to trade futures. And we're actually going to be diving into the charts so you can see the reasoning behind why I think that these timeframes are the ones to consider. However, these 3 timeframes are what I consider to be the best. So I'm curious also to hear from you guys what you think are the best times to trade futures and why. So let's dive into the charts and see. Okay, guys, just as a quick reminder before we dive into the charts is that I actually do have a PDF that summarizes what we're going to talk about in a one-pager. So watch the video, and then if you want the one-pager so that you could print it and have it with you and just remember, feel free to click the link in the description and it'll be emailed directly to you. So now let's dive into the best trading times that you could trade futures. Okay, guys, so like you heard me share earlier, in this video, I'm going to be covering the top 3 times to trade. However, I thought about this and I actually decided to add 2 more as bonuses. So I'm actually going to be covering 5 times that I recommend that you consider trading, right? I know everybody's situation is different. You have different obligations, different responsibilities, a 9-to-5 job, and all of that stuff. So I thought that having more would be better than less, okay? So in order of importance, just focusing on the top 3 before I go into the first 2 bonuses, at number 3 is power hour. And power hour, for those of you guys that don't know what power hour is, it's essentially the last hour for the New York session. So from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. when the New York stock market is open, that normally gives you some pretty cool drives. So we're going to dive into the charts and show you a couple of examples where you've seen some really good movements during power hour so that you can see why I think that you should consider trading during 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's take a look at this setup on August 13th, 2025. So we had been bearish for the most part of the day, and then around 1 o'clock, we started to make our move up. So if you were to take a look at, let's say, an average candle, so you can see an average candle is about 46 ticks in this particular case. And right now, the 3 o'clock candle, the power hour candle, is about to open. And given that, I would be expecting to see probably the same type of average candle to open up. Now, for context perspective, if you're trading futures, right, if you were to come here and put 46 ticks as your target, if you're trading ES, that's about a $575 profit if you're just trading 1 contract. So let's say you decide to go with 3 contracts on ES. You're looking at essentially, let's do 46 ticks. You're looking at a $1,700 trade on this particular setup. So let's see if we're able to catch that in this particular move. And there you have it. So you can clearly see that this particular candle was actually 55 ticks in 1 hour during power hour. So had you been able to catch that move, and if you were trading ES and you were trading, 3 contracts, that would have been about 1,700. Now here's another setup, and this is from August 7th. So you can see we had been bearish for the most part of the day, and all of a sudden we hit a demand zone level right around here. So, right, you can consider this as your demand zone. And once we hit the demand zone, what are we expecting to do? We're going to expect to do a bullish move to the upside. And you can see this is the 2 o'clock candle. So you could, really just consider going up with calls or going long right here based on this entry for your power hour move. So if we are to press play to see what's happened, So you can see nice bullish move based on that demand zone entry for your 3 o'clock candle. So if you were to measure this was 105 ticks. So if you were to come back over here and we were to put, let's say, just even 100 ticks on ES with 3 contracts, that's a $3,000 trade. That's, pretty decent, right? But you might even not go with 3 contracts on ES because that's a lot of risk. So even if you were to just go with 1 contract, 100 ticks during power hour, that would essentially give you 1,250 in an hour, which is certainly not bad. So that's why at number 3, I recommend power hour, which essentially is from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, for number 2, I actually recommend the London Open. So the London market opens at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you'd have to wake up very, very early for this one. So that's the second time that I recommend that you trade. So we're going to dive into this in a little bit. But before we do that, I just want to show you an indicator that you're going to need to have in order for you to be able to actually deploy this strategy well. And the indicator that I recommend you use is called Sessions by Lux Algo. I have a video that covers that. The link to the video is going to be in the description, but I'm going to show it to you right now if you want to see that particular indicator. So the particular indicator I'm talking about is this one, Lux Algo Sessions. And the way you get that indicator is if you come where it says indicators, you can then just search Sessions, and then you put Lux Algo. So this is the one that you're looking for. Sessions, Lux Algo, that's the one that you want. And once you have that, you just essentially turn it on. You can see what I like about this indicator is that it shows you the Tokyo session, and then when the London session is about to open, it will show you the London session in a different color. So I like to trade London Open, like I said, which is 3 a.m., mainly because it normally gives you a big move. So over here, what you can see is that Tokyo consolidated within this range. So now you could either expect London to break either to the downside or to break to the upside, which would essentially give you a really good breakout move that you'd want. So if you take a look and watch what happened, what did you see? The opening candle for the London session expanded, right? Which would have been a nice clean trade to the upside that you could have taken. So if we come over here to the 3 a.m. candle, right? You can see that we had a nice clean move to the upside, 51 ticks. And you stayed in the trade and took this whole move to the upside. That was 172 ticks. Now, if we come back over here and put 172 ticks with 1 contract on ES, that's $2,100 that you could have bagged on that particular trade. So clearly you can see that there is a lot of benefit focusing on the London Open at 3 a.m. in the morning. And here's another example. So you can see over here, the Tokyo session just closed. London session is about to open. What do we see here? We see a previous day low that's sitting over here that price could potentially come and attack. So let's pay attention and see how this plays out when the London session opens. And you can see massive move to the downside, hitting that previous day low. So if we were to turn the sessions off and just look at the time, so this was the 2 o'clock candle, and then the 3 a.m. candle when London opened, you can take a look, massive move to the downside, 165 ticks. So 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the opening of the London session also does give you a big move. Now, if we are now to focus on number 1, the session that I think if you can, prioritize the session, it is the New York Open. So from 9:30 to 11 a.m., for me at least, is what I consider to be the best time to trade. Why? You're going to get really good volume. And when you're seeing a lot of volume come in, especially with futures, that's a good sign. And also the moves are a little bit volatile, right? So obviously you need to have a proper setup for you to trade. But during 9:30 and 11, you'll be able to catch one or two decent trades with a lot of volume. So sticking to the previous example where we just had the 165 tick to the downside on the London Open, let's take a look and see what happens with the New York Open. So there you have it. New York Open gives us a big candle to the downside. So I'm just gonna close out this indicator so that we can see. So you can see the 9 and 10 o'clock candles. And if we were to just measure it out, 300 ticks. So obviously we're looking at the 9:30 open, and you can literally see 9:30 is really when this big move to the downside came. So you can see this New York open from 9:30 to around 10:30-ish. That 1 hour time frame gave you 300 ticks, which is more than double what London gave you with London Open. Now, to contextualize things, is remember with the 172 ticks on the London Open, with one contract would have been $2,100 in profit. Well, with this one, you would have gotten $3,750 in profit with just one move from 9:30 to 10:30 on the New York Open. So we can go through a few more examples to show you that the New York Open is probably the session you want to focus on. So let's come up with a couple of examples. So here's another example, right? So if you pay attention, we had the Asia range low set right over here. And around 8 o'clock, price was sitting up here at the top. So there is that assumption that price might come and take out the Asia range low because the Asia range high had just been taken out. So I'm just going to turn this off real quick. And essentially the move we're looking for right now is a potential move to the downside to sweep the Asia range low. So if we look at the time, this is 8 o'clock. So we'll just switch over to the 30-minute, and then we'll just look for the 9:30 candle. Take a look at that. Right? So this is the 9:30 candle, New York Open. And had you taken this move to the downside, again, almost another 300 ticks to the downside. On this particular one is 292. So you can see the significance and power of really being at the right place at the right time when it comes to trading, right? For someone else, you could have wasted your time, trying to trade during this window, right? Where market was consolidating, right? And, you could have come in at let's say 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30, 8 o'clock. There wasn't really much movement. So if you can just avoid times that don't really give you a lot of volume and focus on the New York Open like you would have done over here, obviously we could see that the Asia range low was really down there to be taken out. You would have just gone in at the right time, right place, and you could have caught a really nice move to the downside. Obviously, just knowing the times to be in the market is not enough. You need to have a proper trading strategy. And if you're interested in learning more about different trading systems and strategies you could deploy in the market, I do have a mentorship program, and the link to apply to my mentorship program is in the description below. Now, as I promised, there are two other times that I'm going to share as bonuses in addition to the ones that I've shared. So as a quick recap, at number 3 was Power Hour from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Number 2 was the London Session Open, which would be 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're in London, it's 8 a.m. British Standard Time. And then at number 1, you do have the New York Open, which is 9:30 to 11. So those are really the top 3. The other 2 that are worth mentioning is going to be the Sunday Open at 6 p.m. So every Sunday when the future market opens, remember we take a break on Friday at 5 p.m. We don't open on Saturday. And then the next time we open is 6 p.m. on Sunday. That Sunday Open is a really good honorable mention. So take a look at this, right? So you can see that this is the last hour on Friday, August 1st. And then the next time it's going to open is going to be Sunday at 6 p.m. So take a look when I press play. In fact, I'll make this a little bit bigger, and we'll even flip it over to a 15-minute so you can see it much better. And then as you can see, that's the open on Sunday. So just to give you context, the first 15 minutes on the Sunday gave you 64 ticks. And then after that, it reversed and it was bullish pretty much for a really good time. So 74 ticks. So you could have caught 64 ticks to the downside in the first 15 minutes of the Sunday open. And then from 6:15 all the way up to like 9:15. All the way up to 7:15. So from 6:15 all the way up to 7:15, which was an hour, you could have caught 74 ticks to the upside. So if we were to look at this on a 1 hour, you can clearly see there is that 1 hour candle that you could have caught, and it was essentially a bullish move to the upside ever since. So from 6:15 all the way up to around 8 o'clock or almost 9 o'clock, 117 ticks to the upside. So that's also a nice, easy, clean move to the upside. Did you've been looking at this on the hourly? So that's why Sunday at 6 p.m. is another bonus mention that I would call out. And for this one, most people are at home. They're not working on Sundays. And this could be an easy one that you can catch. And what's better than just making a few extra dollars on a Sunday when you're just chilled at home, right? So that's another one. And then last but not least, it's actually similar to the Sunday open, and it is the 6 p.m. open on any day. So the way it works with futures is that futures market closes at 5 p.m. for an hour, and then it reopens at 6 p.m. So normally at 6 p.m. when it reopens, prior to the Asia session, that's also a really good time for you to catch it. And for those of you guys that have a 9 to 5, if you finish work at 5 p.m., it gives you time to get home, do your quick analysis and wait for that 6 p.m. open, and then you can catch a nice trade at that time. So let's take a look and see some of our options over here. So you can actually take a look at this day, right? So you can see this is 6 p.m. on Thursday. And on this particular day, had you been looking at it, let's say on a 15-minute, you could have been able to catch this move right here. So how you'd have been able to trade this would have been quite easy. You can see fib retracement entry to the downside. So you could have been able to catch this move to the downside, 76 ticks, and you could have gone in at 6:15, right? 15 minutes after the open, and you'd have been done around 6:45. So literally 30-minute trade, 76 ticks to the downside. So nice, clean, and healthy. So let's take a look at another day as well, so that we just have a couple of examples. So take a look at this day. You have a supply zone right here. You have a supply zone right here. Let me just mark it out. So supply zone level right here. And essentially we closed right around kind of like the midpoint of this bearish move. So the expectation is if the market is to open at 6 p.m., we're most likely going to target the supply zone. So that would be the strategy I would have on this particular trade. And then bam, literally straight into supply. We hit the supply zone, we go down. So had you taken this at the low and taken it all the way up, nice 33 ticks to the upside, right? So another nice and clean move at the 6 p.m. open. On a regular day. So those are the two other honorable mentions that I have for this particular session. Now, as a nice little bonus and nice to have for you guys, I do have a PDF that summarizes all of this. If you would like to grab this PDF, feel free to go to the link in the description and just click, and you'll be able to get the PDF that really just summarizes the 5 sessions that I've outlined for you to check out. So hope you enjoy. So there you have it, folks. Those are the 3 times that I consider to be the most ideal times to trade futures. If you found this video valuable, please like and share the video so that people in your network can also get to learn. And if you have other trading times that you think should be something that people should consider, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you're not already following the channel, please like and subscribe to the channel so that the next time I drop new content, you will be notified. So, nice hanging out today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.